su espíritu juvenil. Man, it's been a long time since I've been able to say those words. These last couple months for me have been a little difficult. And I think we all go through those difficulties, especialmente con Papito Jesús. No todo es tan fácil like we think. But hoy tengo el placer de tener un invitado de mi parroquia y voy a dejar que se presente.
Hello, my name is Eric Vargas. Thank you for having me, Victor.
Yes, it's an honor. When he came back to the group, God was telling me that his story in some way had some help to los jóvenes, and I knew it was important to bring him on and have him on the channel. And I know that he's been in La Renovación and he's helped out con los jóvenes, and he's been with God. But sometimes, we shy away from God, but being back and being able to share that experience and what, how God changes your life and wants you to want more of him is amazing. So I'm going to ask him a little bit about his testimony. But before we do that, obviously our prayer, que ya se me está olvidando before we start the testimony and get deeper into this. So en nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Mi Señor, te quiero dar gracias por todas las bendiciones que tú has hecho. Te pido que llenes la boca de este joven con sabiduría, con palabras correctas que usted quiere que diga. Le pido que lo siga llenando con ese amor inmenso que usted nos da. Guíenos en este camino difícil. Aleja todo mal, aleja todo pecado de nosotros. Aleja todos esos demonios que nos traten de tirar de tu camino, mi Señor. Y a ti, Espíritu Santo, te pido que llenes nuestros corazones con muchísima sabiduría, con muchísimas ganas, con muchísimo temor de Dios, con muchísimos de tus dones, Espíritu Santo, para que nosotros en realidad podamos ser movidos por usted, por el Espíritu Santo. Y a ti, Mamita María, cuídenos, intercede por nosotros, ayúdanos a llegar al cielo, así como tú lo haces a través de esa intercesión que tanto necesitamos, Mamita María. Te amamos y todo esto en nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Eric, para empezar el podcast, pues danos un poquito de tu testimonio que has pasado.
Of course. So I grew up in the church, to be honest. Mi mom siempre me llevaba a mí, a mis hermanos, ever since we were little. Nos enseñó just everything. Íbamos a misa. Cuando empezó la renovación en San Miguel, we would go, and it was in a very small room, and we were all crammed up there. And así nomás, after a while, we stopped going and stuff, but we always went to Mass. Always went to Mass growing up. And then, some life events happened. My parents got divorced, and it happened in such a horrible way. And I wouldn't like to say that I have a really sob story, but because at the time it didn't affect me, but now I see kind of the consequences of what happened to me growing up. So I started again in La Renovación in the Grupo de Jóvenes when I was, I think at 12 years old. I went with my brother to the Grupo de Jóvenes, and then we got my mom to go, my other sisters, my stepdad. Y pues, then I got involved in Nueva Alianza. My brother was in it first, and then my mom was like, well, if he's going to be in it, well, you got to do something too. So go. And honestly, it was the best decision ever. Honestly, yes, I completely fell in love with Nueva Alianza, serving. It changed me a lot as a person in a good way, to be honest, because I was really shy, dude. I was so shy in school, and honestly, just being around the people that were in Nueva Alianza, they helped me grow. But to be honest, I was kind of two-faced, not gonna lie. Because in school I was a bad kid, honestly. I think I was considered the black sheep in my family, dude, because I would get suspended a lot from school. And I remember they found out in No Alianza that I got suspended from school for fighting. And then I just kind of felt embarrassed, to be honest. And I disappointed my mom a lot. my whole family, to be honest. Y I don't know. I think that stage I just grew out of it with time. Because the last time I got suspended was in ninth grade. Yeah, después de ahí, like people were scaring me. They're like, "Oh, if you get suspended, you're not gonna make it into college." And honestly, I don't think my family believed in me. I didn't. They didn't even think I was gonna graduate high school. And somehow, I don't know, bro. Somehow, I made it out of high school, and I went into college. Took me 5 years to graduate, but it felt like I was having like a good life, like very very balanced. Nueva Alianza, and then I forgot to mention, but I also started dando temas when I was like 17 years old.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's young.
yeah, and it's amazing to see. A veces like los frutos from doing that because one of the temistas, Eris, she used to be one of my students.
What, for real?
Yeah, Eddie's was one of my students, and to see her giving demos, it's like so amazing. Because I mean, something good had to happen out of that, you know.
You don't imagine that they're gonna be your teachers.
Yeah.
That's I think that's a crazy thing to think about. But man, but keep going with your story. Well,
It's just it baffles me sometimes. Like you don't think about these things sometimes, and then I stopped giving temas because I started working. My mom always wanted me to like buy my own things, and maybe that was kind of bad for me that I gave up dando temas to like make money, and like I got my phone and stuff, or else I was never gonna get a phone, to be honest. My mom was not gonna buy me a phone, so I stopped giving temas, and yeah, it sucked. But I still continued in Nueva Alianza, serving in retiros y todo eso. I was in a very healthy relationship at the time, and I couldn't complain about anything.
Life is going pretty well. Like there was things that you just don't imagine. Now you look back, it's like, well, I wish I was there at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we all have those moments, but you also got to think that, God's polishing us in a lot of these things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And honestly, I had some like great friendships with people at church. And a lot of them don't go anymore. Yeah, se juntaron and stuff. So now I got to make friendships with like the younger ones now, and it's kind of hard sometimes to like relate to them, but it's still a good thing for sure. And then I started getting into las obras. They asked me to like, hey, you want to try like making an obra, and I really enjoyed that too. I would make up my own skits, and then I would gather up a bunch of jóvenes that wanted to be in it, and then we had such a blast, to be honest. But then again, I stopped doing that after a while, and then COVID hit, and that was honestly a test from God, honestly, because I know que mucha gente like they stopped going because COVID, and I remember I told Nova Alianza we had a meeting here one day, and then I was like, I'm not gonna continue no more. And to be honest, I have no reason why. I couldn't say like COVID was a reason like to stop going to church because todavía había misa, like se ponían face masks, pero todavía había. I don't know what happened, dude. Honestly,
I think during that time was pretty complicated for a lot of things because everybody just started going away. That's the same way that, Coordinando down there with Los Jóvenes in Hartwell, it was just so impactful. Like we were already struggling at the time, and it's like that hit and everything just went down the drain, like all those years of work and stuff. And I don't think necessarily it was like just a you thing. I think everybody kind of like lost faith because everyone was scared. Like, what's gonna happen with me? Like, I don't know what tomorrow will come. Like, will I even be alive? I think it was a lot of people's questions because it was questionable. Yeah, you de una enfermedad que no sabías que te iba a hacer.
Yeah, man. And man, it was rough, to be honest. I mean, I think most people that I know actually had COVID, but like my family was like one of the first ones that I heard about and like in Gainesville to have it. So like we had so much support from like the people from church, and it was scary though, because my little sister was like, I don't know, like 13 or 14. I don't, to be honest, I don't remember, but like it hit her pretty bad, dude. Like they had my little sister at home locked in a room with like a breathing mask or like oxygen tank. I was like, my little sister? I was like, she's just a kid. But it honestly, like it hit me. I didn't even hit me. Like COVID, right away. I remember this was March of 2020, and like it hit my stepdad pretty hard too. Like he was scared he was gonna die. Like it was serious, and I was just chilling downstairs. I was sleeping in the living room.
You were like, it's not affecting me.
Yeah, yeah, and like I don't know how I didn't get it. Like I remember I was checking the temperature to my little sister, and she sneezed in my face, and I didn't get COVID up until like months later in August. But honestly, like no me hizo nada. I just lost my taste buds. I mean, my sense of taste. And, but apart from that, like
there wasn't no big thing that really pushed you away from church. You just kind of fell off, and just walked away from God.
And that was, I gotta admit, that's gotta be one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my life, dude. Because from when I stopped going to church up until like recently, dude, my life changed in such a horrible way. Dude.
Yeah.
And then like my problems from when I was little started to show up.
Catching up to you.
Yeah, dude. And like things that I never realized that were like affecting me were affecting me as an adult, dude. And like recently, I realized that like, I don't know how you would say, like molested or like sexually assaulted by my uncle when I was young. And I knew it at the time when I was little. I didn't know what that meant, dude. I really didn't know what it means. So I didn't grow up hurt from it.
Because you didn't understand
what
just happened. Yeah,
dude. And I thought it was normal because my whole family from that side of the family were like that, dude. Like they planted a very bad seed in my mind. Like they would tell me about like things that you shouldn't hear when I was like 9 years old, and then they were telling me like things that only adults should be hearing. And to me, I mean, they normalized that to me, and that was one of the issues that ended up haunting me while I was away from church.
Trying to get over that bump.
Yeah, dude.
Realize, and I think that society nowadays especially is pushing hard on having kids like make those subjects like okay, like it's the right thing to do. And that scares me because our kids are gonna live in a world where like I don't know what type of control there'll be, like what this world will create. Like if a 9-year-old now, they talk so like adult like, so teenager like. I remember that I didn't really think about these things. So I was like 15, 16, and there's kids that are 10, 9 talking and cussing you out. And I'm just like, whoa, like, what's going on? Yeah, like I wasn't even there at your age. So it's crazy, but you're right. Sometimes that our family members, friends, people just make it normal, and it's not.
Yeah, dude. It really, and it's crazy how you don't think about it at the time. You kind of just see it like just later on in life that that stuff wasn't right. It wasn't right to hear, and then the things that you learn kind of turn into actions. And that was like one of the biggest things that has kept me away from God these years. I had I had a lot of issues with like lusting, and because of that, I've heard a lot of people these past years, bro, and it's something that I'm ashamed of now. But as I was doing it, it was something like prideful. Like as a man, it's like, oh, I can get these women. Like I have 3-4 women like all over me. Like it's great, life is good, and no,
You feel rewarded. Well, if you think about it, and it's not justifying men or justifying any actions, but as a human being, when you feel rewarded, when you get something, you accomplish something, it makes you want more of it. It's the same way with money. When you start winning money, you like it, so you want to win more. And in a way, this is the same thing with sex. So that's why God created it to be only for marriage, because it should have never been introduced to our age until we got married. And I think that's a problem with society now that, you know, even I've had that trouble where, like, I've lusted before, I've had sexual relationships, but it's just like, now I think about it, I'm like, what benefit do I truly get if it's not my wife? Why am I connecting with someone else if they're truly not my person? Like, I haven't even met my person yet. I don't know what she is, what she's doing at the moment. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's crazy how society has just made that okay. So, like, I know where you're coming from, because as a human being, anything that makes you feel rewarded, you just want more of that. You want to feel like a winner.
Yeah, honestly. And I've tried to, like, get away from those problems, honestly, but it turned into a cycle that I felt like I couldn't get away from, and it's something that, like, still haunts me to this day. Like, I keep having problems with it, and up until recently, like, I decided, like, I really have to give up my life to God. Like, I have to change myself before I try to change anyone else, because I expected a lot from those females, but sometimes the issue was me. And I have to realize that, you know, I'm a grown adult now, dude. Like, I feel old, man. Like, pronto se me vienen las canas. And, like, what have I accomplished? Like, and that's one of the issues that I have mentally. Like, dude, like, I'm 25 and where am I?
Here's the other issue with society nowadays, and like, hearing you say that, it's just like, you're 25. You still have the whole rest of your life to figure and get to where you need to. And if you think about it, a lot of these billionaires, whatever, right? A lot of them didn't get that money until they were 40, 50, 60 years old. But nowadays, society, with all these influencers, all these people that are making tons of money, are our age, and we think that we should be there. But in reality, no, we shouldn't be there, because we're not mature enough to do. What are we going to do with $1 million? Lo vamos a ir a gastar en tonterías and things we don't need. So in a way, my advice to you in that aspect would be, like, I think the things you have accomplished from, like, knowing you have really molded you to be better. And yeah, you've made mistakes in life, but we're human. Like, because of Adam and Eve, we have sin, like, in our blood, and we're going to pick out. But that was the whole reason Jesus came back to save us. And the fact that you're trying to change it, and you're trying to see that maybe you were the mistake, and you were the problem in all those problems you had, that's, I think, to me, is like a strong manly attribute, because a lot of men nowadays don't admit that they were the wrong ones, that they did a mistake.
Yeah, dude. And unfortunately, like, I take a lot of fault in my actions, and the way I was coping with, like, my pain and stuff was, I was doing THC. So it's not marijuana, but it's like kind of like marijuana. And, what else? You know, I tried healthy methods as well. I mean, it didn't include God, but I went through therapy, like, last year twice with 2 different therapists, because of how much it was affecting me, that I just couldn't get away from that problem. And honestly, like, I didn't even do what the therapist told me to do. Like, it's just like sin had a hold of me so bad, dude. And honestly, I realized that God is the way. God is the way, dude. And I'm trying to be firm in this path, dude. I do not want to let go.
And it's complicated. It gets hard. I've been with God since I was 12. And I was firm till I was probably 18, 19 years old. No, say 18, because I took 6 months off before, because I got here in Gainesville when I was 19. But I thought, I mean, maybe God's the problem in my head. Una mente joven. I was like, maybe God's not, maybe he doesn't exist. And I started questioning all of those things. So I did alcohol. I had sexual relationships with girls. And I did all these things that I thought that were probably the right thing. But when I came back to los pies de Jesús, like I remember the first time I experimenté la misa in Gainesville, man, I thought I had felt in heaven. Like it was the most amazing thing that had ever happened. I was like, where am I at? Like I need this again. And you're right. No hay medicina que cure. No hay therapist que te diga lo que sea. Uh-huh. El único persona que realmente te va a hacer cambiar es él. But you have to stay firm. And it's been a struggle. I think especially for me, these last couple months have been like hard. And I probably wanted to quit again so many times. I probably told many people that like I'm done. And then like, I'm like, you know what? I feel an emptiness. I tried 1 week staying away from Gainesville, staying away from everything. I didn't even accomplish 1 week because I felt that me estaba faltando algo, que necesitaba a Dios. And when I came back, it felt so fulfilling. It was like, this is home. When I came back to Gainesville that week, I was like, wow, this is home. And I don't know, at first when I used to come here, I used to say, like, I don't want to live in Gainesville. It's too big for me. Because yo soy un muchacho de un pueblo chiquito. So for me, this was like too much. But now I'm like, what? My wife is probably here somewhere. Like God brought me here for a reason. Granted, he's done a lot of other things, but it's just like, if you stick through it, God starts opening so many doors, and he's opened so many doors for me. Like I'm so blessed. So that's why I'm telling you, yes, you're right. Everything you're saying is correct. With him is like the truth, the way, and the only correct thing to do. Like it's amazing, at least in my experience. Like even trying in my moments of giving up, he's helped me. He's been there for me.
Yeah, that's so good to hear, bro. I see that God is working in you, dude, and I'm happy, dude, because I remember I saw you for the first time. I think it was like 2021 that you started coming.
Yeah, right? It was because COVID happened, so it would be
2021. Yeah, 2021. I saw you, and you just seemed like a regular dude, you know? And I was like, oh, this guy's normal. And then, like, I come back, and it's like a whole new Victor. Like you've made so much improvement in your life, and it's nice to see, dude, honestly.
Yeah, the way that God worked, I was like, for a year, it was kind of like, man, like, I love God, but, like, I think I just need to sit down and just listen. And then I was like, okay, God, I'm ready. What do you want me to do? And I finally texted the leaders here in Gainesville, and they're like, you want to give demos? And I was like, whoa. I was like, I don't think that's for me. Like, I didn't think that was my calling. But one of the biggest things that I've always prayed to God was, help me find the right woman. And then the other one was, I want to be un predicador one day. That was always my dream. And then like these last couple months and this next year, I think it's going to be full of blessings, even though this end of the year has been rough for me. I think next year is going to open doors that I never thought existed. Like God's showing me his mercy because he's forgiven me I'm still sinning at the moment. I still peco igual que tú, igual que everybody, all you guys, right? But it's amazing. I don't know, like, sometimes I wish I could take my heart out and give it to all those jóvenes so that like they could feel what I feel, because it's just like, it's so fulfilling. And I ask him, I'm like, when people see me, I don't want them to see me. I was like, I want them to feel your presence. And hey boy, not completely. Sometimes I'm down and obviously they don't see Jesus, they see Victor. But when I'm happy, for the most part, people see what God has done in my life. And it's reflecting God. And that's why I'm like, I always try to keep a smile on my face because God put that smile on my face.
Awesome. That's amazing, dude. You inspire me. I see metal, bro. I like your testimony, bro. It's nice. I wish that honestly a lot of people can like turn to God because of you. Because yeah, I can tell you do have God in your life, and yeah, you're right. We all sin, and hopefully, like maybe I can do that one day. Where you're at, increase my faith. Right now, my brother motivates me a lot, man, because he knows the Bible so well. Like, and to me, that's so motivating because I never really grew up like reading the Bible. Like, I read the Bible nomás cuando daba temas, pero like aparte de los temas, I don't. No, not dude. It's just like it's just there, and then I'm like, oh man. But and when I've had rough times this year, um, sometimes I just turn on like the audio Bible through this app, and I fell asleep to it, and like sometimes it's like one of the most peaceful sleeps that I've had because man, it's been a rough year, dude, for me, and I still try to smile and be happy and be grateful for what I have. But dude, like I'm telling you, like all those things that happened to me when I was young, dude, like they just want to get a hold of me. And one of the things I didn't even mention was my dad, dude. When he got deported in 2011, it just took like a big piece away from me, dude. Like
that was your role model.
Dude, yes, dude, my dad was everything. I would love to say that he is, but dude, I lost my bond that I had with my dad, dude, and it feels like I grew up without one, to be honest. Like a lot of things that men know how to do, like at this age, I had to learn on myself. Like I didn't learn how to change a tire until the day que se me tronó una llanta allá en la montaña. I was going on a fishing trip, se me tronó, no cell service. Bro, I kept driving with a flat tire until I found a man, and I was like, "Hey, can you like let me borrow your jack?" And then I just kind of like stood aside, and he did it for me. But like, I didn't know how to do that. Like just regular things. Like I learned how to use a drill from working at Home Depot. Like I miss my dad, honestly, dude. And
it's that role model you need it, and I guess in some way that's like a testimony to remind this youth that's coming up that like don't just get in a marriage with somebody just because you're satisfied with sex, because that's not everything.
Correct.
One thing that I heard one time was like, if you want to see what your wife is gonna look like, look at her mom. Like, and it's just like, whoa, hold up. Like, I never thought about it that way. Look at her mom, and that's the same way that she'll be looking. And then I pay attention now. I'm like, I look at mother and daughters as they go evolving, and I'm like, yeah, at some point they will. But that's why you don't pick somebody for their looks or for the satisfy they give you in bed. That's why God, wanted it to be after y'all got married, to feel that intimacy and give you that strength within each other to become one. Because nowadays, okay, they satisfied me like the first 10 years with sex, but now they don't want to give me sex because they don't have the same drive as they used to, because you start losing it when you get older. And then you start having divorces and all this. So, and then you don't have that father figure, you don't have that mother figure. So it's important to not just go marry whoever you want. Like really pay attention to who you're going to. I think the other day we were having a conversation. He was talking to us about how, like there's different stages, and, like you really, before you get in a relationship, he said, was like, you need to get to know this person. And in my head, I'm just like, no, I was like, you just go into a relationship and hope for the best. But I guess that all has a point to it, like why are we just, just get in a relationship with anybody,
Yeah, for sure. And I've had to learn, because honestly, like yo me metí en relationships, I see like get to know them right away. Oh, this is how they are when they're happy. Great, we're gonna be happy, and then you realize you have problems down the road, and you don't know how that person is when they're mad. So then you're like, oh man, what did I do? Like I should have probably got to know them, and then now you see how they are when they're mad, and no te gusta, y luego you see how they are when they're sad, and maybe you can't handle it, and then it creates a mess. That's why I encouraged it the other day, because I think you said otherwise.
In my head was like the talking stage to me doesn't exist because they don't talk about it in the Bible, but they also don't talk about boyfriend girlfriend. But when he brought up the point where like you have to get to know the person before you even get in a relationship. But then another thing I also heard was that a relationship is supposed to be a boyfriend and girlfriend. You're supposed to want to go through the worst and create memories when you're married, because when you're married, you can experience all the happiness. But if you really go through a relationship and you make it out through thick and thin, through everything, then that's your person. And when I heard that, I was like, whoa, like now society teaches that the boyfriend girlfriend is when you create all these beautiful memories, you take them out. But you're right. Most of us run away from problems. Like, we're petty nowadays is what I feel. Everybody says toxic. Yeah, well, this toxicness because the world has changed our minds. I feel like sometimes we don't even think for ourselves. The internet thinks for us. Mm-hmm. Like, it's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude. All this toxicity around us. But, I mean, there is, the good thing is that there are ways around it, dude. And I told myself now, like, I convinced myself recently to know that my next relationship should be my last one, because I'm not going to let anyone into my life that doesn't have God in their life. And I have to make sure that I have God in my life as well, because if I don't, like, well, pasar like other ones, dude. And I'm very firm on that, dude. And I trust in God. And honestly, se lo pongo en sus manos, bro, because I feel like good things are going to happen with my life, even if I don't feel it right now, even if I don't feel like I don't have like my dream job yet, or just like live where I want to live. I got to chill and just be patient.
Yeah, God right now is putting you in that pressure, and then in a couple months from now, you'll just see this beautiful diamond He's turning you into. And it's hard, it's complicated, because yo también estoy en ese stage, I'm getting old, like, God, what are you doing with my life? What do you want me to do? A veces, like, He's like, He wants you to be mad at Him because God knows your feelings. But if you don't have an intimacy with Him, He's like, hey, like, spit it out. Dime lo que me quieres decir. And then once you do it, you feel like una paz. And He's like, now go out. Go talk about me. Show them who I really am. Like, I love you. I make you mad sometimes because I make you wait, but I truly love you. And like, he's pressuring, he's putting pressure, and He obviously puts our hardest battles for His strongest soldiers. So the same thing you said, like, I feel like my next relationship for me is done. It's wraps. Like, I don't want nobody else. And that's the thing that I've always prayed to God was like I want somebody that loves God. And I think what I did I think like God is telling me where I need to go and what I need to do. And I know exactly what I want. I want this girl to really be devoted to God and love God before me. Like, when I get there, like, God be her strength. Like, and I'm like, whoa, because like, yo estoy metido en la iglesia hasta lo más fondo. And I'm just like, if they're not in the same sync as me, well, what are we going to do? Like, what type of relationship are we going to create, you know?
Yeah. So
it's crazy how life keeps just moving around.
Yeah, dude. But I'm glad that you and I are thinking alike right now. You know, we want our next to be our last, and we gotta make sure they love God. And honestly, I pray that happens for both of us, bro.
Yes, I pray for both of us too. And your testimony, and like, guys, being with God doesn't mean you have to be perfect. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, was like, I don't want to go to church because God's going to see me and He's going to hate me because I've done so many pecados. But I was going to tell you something else, Ratita, is like, sometimes God lets you sin so much because He knows you run to Him when you sin. He knows. So God always wants us to want more of Him. So a veces He's like, well, if si no estás pecando, nunca corres a mí. He's like, so, like, yeah, I hate that you're doing it, but I know you're going to want more of me. Y te voy a seguir llenando, te voy a seguir llenando. There's going to be a point where you don't need to sin no more, because you're going to be so full of me that you're not going to want to sin no more. And like, I heard that one day and I was like, whoa, like, I'm like, it's bad. Yes. Do I need to stop? Yes. But because of that, you're right. I do run to your feet all the time. And I know that it's bad. And that's how you know you truly have God in your heart, because you know you're doing something wrong because God is in your heart. And if you don't feel like you're doing something bad, then sorry to tell you, but you don't have God in your heart at the moment. And you need to open those doors. You need to let God just walk in your life, you know? Yes. So, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Dude, I had never heard that either, dude, about sinning, and then like he doesn't want you to, but he knows that you'll go to him, and hopefully that's the case with me. Honestly, probably because I sin so much, and then to the point where I just snapped, and I was like, oh man, because I felt like I had no conscience of what I was doing, dude. Like I was doing things, and I was kind of like I didn't feel anything. I made actions, I hurt people, but I felt nothing. And then just one day it snapped, like, oh gosh, I'm hurting them, I'm hurting myself. And then and then I was like, yeah, like something's clicking in me that I need him, and I need to serve him, because you just don't know when it's your last day, dude. And I just hope that I never let go, honestly.
The one thing I want to ask you, and I asked this one of my friend, like, so let's say nos morimos hoy, que Dios no quiera, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
And you have Pedro in front of you, el discípulo Pedro, and like you're in line to get judged by God. And he turns around and he goes back and he looks back at you. He's like, oh, yo soy Pedro. He's like, Dios edificó la iglesia sobre mí. Like, I did all these things that I forgot. He's like, what'd you do? If, like, in a way, it makes you think, like, whoa. Like, in some place, yeah, we're all going to be at the same place. But what did I do? Like, if right now, like, what would you tell God? Like, what did I do? What benefit did I give to the holiness? Because we all did something at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
And we still have a lot of life left to change that. You know?
Yeah, dude. That's crazy.
That's a great question, right?
Yeah, because I mean, we don't ever think about when it's our last day, and yeah, maybe God will ask us that, like, what did you do? And I mean, what am I gonna say? You know, like, because I don't feel worthy, dude. Even though I've done my things to serve Him, like I still do not feel worthy, dude. And that's why I just try to get closer and closer, because we don't know how He's going to judge us. Like what He's going to say. What are we going to say, man? Like, that's why we need to act now, like today.
Yeah. Today
we got to turn to God, man.
And you mean His scriptures, He says, it don't matter if you say, God, I love you. Like if you really if you did more pecados than what you were supposed to, and you really you were two-faced, as we like to call it, God's going to turn His face too. He's like, you didn't really care about me. Yeah, you were at church all the time, but you didn't really, love me the way that I needed you. And last night I was thinking, like, I'm like, how crazy is, like, I'm like, siempre estoy sirviendo and stuff, but I'm like, am I really fulfilling like God's love? Like, am I really doing enough? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I still need to do more. I'm still doing so many bad things. And that's where it comes to, like, I know that I have that conscience, and God's just purifying our hearts as we go through life. And we're still young. So don't think that just because, like, you're doing all these bad things, like, okay, we're going through an etapa hard, but we just need to purify ourselves now. We need to walk towards Him, keep our eyes on God. That's the hardest part, I think, nowadays, to keep our eyes on God.
Yeah.
So I really liked today's podcast, because the message was like wanting more of God, and like, and the other ones, like different testimonies and stuff, but just for you to be able to share on the podcast, like, to want more of God, and like that vulnerability, like you can tell, like, when someone's truly vulnerable and wants God's love, and you truly want it. And I know God's going to open so many doors, and you're not seeing it right now. And God already opened that door for you. He already told you, He's like, I got it. He's like, but all those other places you thought were the right place is not. He's like, just wait. He's like, I know where I'm taking you. And serve God. That's my biggest thing, that I give my time 100% to God. Everything else comes after. Literally, if you ask my mom, mi pobre madre, she gets sad sometimes because siempre estoy para arriba, para abajo, everywhere. But I tell her, I'm like, I'm happy, Mom. Like, I love God. Like, these last couple months have been hard, but I'm happy. Like, the blessings that God has given me couldn't have been if it would have just been me. Those doors would have never opened. Like, I like to compartir a lot of times, is that I'm an engineer tech at my job. I can't read and write correctly. I'm dyslexic. I mix up a lot of my words. Reading for me was always a struggle. And to be an engineer, you need to be as professional as you can. Being an architect is what I'm studying. You have to be precise. So it's like, I never thought I would actually get to where I wanted to be, but God's opened these doors. Like at the job where I was at, I started as a simple operator, and God moved me up slowly because he saw that he needed me here and I needed time to be able to serve him. And because of my job, I'm able to serve him 100%. So right after work, like corro para Ginzo and whatever they need for whatever, Atlanta, aquí voy, because that love, because he's opened so many doors for me. Like, that's what I'm telling you. Like, first worry about serving him, and then all the doors will open. Like, you're going to be so amazed, you know? Yes, sir. Yes. And I see that you want to do that and that you want to change. So I'm going to keep pushing you to keep coming. And one day we'll look back at this video and be like, wow, the blessings from then on.
Yeah, amen, bro. Amen.
So thank you. I don't know, any last things like you wanna tell the guys from the podcast and stuff?
I truly wish that we change now, because one day we're gonna have to look back at our lives if we get the opportunity to, and we have to see how we gave our lives to God, if we even did it, man, because we sometimes are like just wasting our time, living day by day without a plan. And honestly, we can only find happiness in God. And the only thing I encourage, like even if you don't even like going to church, if you're there, like you have no idea like what God is doing in you. And eventually it's going to work. It's going to work out. God is going to touch you somehow. Someday he's going to touch you and he's going to transform your life. A song that I like is Un Vaso Nuevo. Have you heard it?
Yeah, I've heard it.
And these past days that I was going through something really rough, man, it was at night, dude. I just started singing it on my way home. And honestly, I kept singing it ever since that day, and that's like my motto right now. Like, yo quiero ser un vaso nuevo, and I hope that people can find something and hopefully get some inspiration from someone like you or like other people that you've had on the podcast. But all I gotta say is keep on going and don't give up, because God has something for all of us, and he just needs some patience from us.
Hey, man. I think I always say this at the end of the podcast all the time, but it's just like, I don't know, todos los mensajes que Dios has left me, being able to hear like the different perspectives of everybody, from adults to teenagers to like our age, you know, un poquito más grandes. And it's a blessing how God, even though you think that God's not within you, like the way you talk, I think God has something prepared for you within him. And I think your thing is being able to tell the way you express the love that God has given you is amazing. Like, I feel like when you're talking, like I truly feel like God's talking through you. Like, just the words that you're able to say is because he's using you in great ways. And that's a blessing. And in a way, it's like you speak so loving of him. And that's how you know that God's going to move you. He's opening doors right now at this moment. I'm thankful that I brought you on to the podcast. Like, I love your everything about today. So I appreciate, thank you for the guys that are listening, right? You know, like, thank him, because the message that he brought today was definitely different than what I was prepared to hear. I kind of was going to go a different way, but as you were progressing through the podcast, I let it flow, and you definitely took it to a better extreme than I was. So thank you, Eric. Thank you for being on here. And it's a blessing, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be back with the podcast, putting videos back up. I had to take last videos down, but so the plan is to be posting Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Further hasta que me canse. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So this video should be out on the 6th of December is what I'm shooting for, and the rest of the year to post on these days. So please keep me up to that. Vlogs, this channel is going to be used a little bit differently than what I'm used to using it, but it's at the same way to keep motivating you guys to see the love that God has done. The way that God is using Eric, even through the podcast, he might feel like he's not enough, but God's definitely is like, you're more than enough. Like, I love you. Like, man, you, so many things prepared for you. Like, just the way, God talks through him. So thank you, Eric.
Of course. Thank you, Victor. Thank you.
It's a blessing. Usually we go off with the prayer, but man, I think we had enough blessings as just with his words. And ya hicimos el prayer initial. So guys, en mi espíritu unir, my fans, thank you for all the support. I remember I started in February or January, so ya vamos a cumplir a year grabando. So thank you guys, thank y'all for tuning in to the videos. I think we're at 130 subscribers for me. Like, that was tough getting there. But thank you guys, like, I love every single one of y'all, todos los que me están escuchando. Ha sido una bendición poder hacer esto. Y maybe we'll have Eric back on. I think it's definitely, I would want to like to have him back on next year. And man, what a blessing, Eric. What a blessing, Eric.
Thank you, Victor.
So, Espíritu Unir, and we're out.